Hi guys, welcome back to Nightowl Podcasts. It's been a while since I put out any content, but today I have a very special guest on. His name is Alec. Introduce yourself even more.
Thank you very much for having me first. I'll say Maraganyi to all you mob tuned in, and very big thank you and much respect for you for having me on. My name is Judd Bagala. I'm from the Wanyi, Gadawa, and Ganglia tribes in the lower Gulf of Carpentaria. A lot of people know me as Alec Doomadgee. And I'm very honored to be here. I'm from the Whittly and Mumbalia clans, and I'm from the Gamadangi Skin group, the Moiji group. And yeah, it's an honor to come on and I guess share a little bit of the knowledge I've learned from my old people, and hopefully it can help you more in these times of crisis.
Yeah, I mean, I'm out of my mind excited right now because I've always had this dream where I wanted to meet more people who are knowledgeable about Aboriginal spirituality, and it's just it's mind-blowing to me that I finally found someone who can teach me more about Aboriginal spirituality. So this is I'm starstruck right now.
Well, I hope I can. I wouldn't say I'm a master in it, but I certainly participate in it and certainly have some experience in the world of spirituality, and in the world of ceremonies, and in the world of actually using medicinal plants for healing. So yeah, I'm happy to share what little knowledge I do have, and hopefully that can help in some way.
Okay, great.
And I'm a little bit humbled that you're starstruck as well.
So, oh God, what you just said about medicinal plants, let's get started on that. Could you please tell what you know about medicinal plants?
Well, look, for a long time, our people have been practicing medicine with our plant here in Australia, and a lot of it, was used for purpose of healing, for spirituality, to take you into a different realm as well, but also used especially for, obviously Australia has 10 of the most poisonous snakes in the world. So you can't expect people to live for 80,000 years in a country that has, even with all these poisonous, dangerous kind of different animals, whether it's snakes or spiders. We do have and always had remedies for them, cures or ways to actually, take the sting or the bite out of anything that we got. I mean, obviously people did there were fatalities around some of them, but that's not to say that we haven't been utilizing a lot of our plants. And a lot of it has been kept secret for a long time as well, due to the misuse of it, or due to, I guess, when colonization or invasion happened, they didn't come in a good way. So a lot of our old people went, well, maybe we shouldn't share a lot of our secrets with these fellows. They're kind of not here for the right purposes.
Yeah. But, sorry, I just wanted to quickly say, I don't want to if there's anything that you want to leave out, don't feel like you need to share it with us. If it's...
Yeah, no, of course. Look, I'm happy to share with you the fact that this one here, this is my favorite. This is my favorite plant, right? This is Laginda. Laginda is the sandalwood, and up where I'm from, we have a really specific, I guess, variety of the sandalwood, and there's heaps of them. We've got about 2 or 3 different varieties in that one area, and we use it for a lot of medicinal purposes, whether it's for healing on the inside, for cleaning your body out. And this is what it looks like. So I got this on my last trip up home, and it's basically, this is all my leaf. Smells yummy. So it's leaves. It's leaves off a tree, a sandalwood tree. We use a lot of the sandalwood for healing, also to take us into I wouldn't say a trance, but we boil up the leaves like a tea. We boil it and drink it, and it takes you into a calming place. It's kind of a little bit like kava, and the use of kava by the Polynesian mob, by the Maoris, Tongans, Samoans. I actually had some really good kava when I was over in Vanuatu about 10 years ago, and it's similar, I guess, strength to that. So sandalwood, Laginda, this one from up home, and I'm pretty sure it's mainly because of the I guess the power in the soil up there, and the nutrients that come out of the ground, not just the minerals, but also the soil itself. It has a real different spirituality to it. That part of the country where I'm from, there's this really natural phenomenon that happens that a lot of people don't know about. But it's the only place in the world that has these cloud formations that turn up every year they're actually happening right now, between September, October, November. We call it the Mabunta. The Mabunta is these tubular clouds, and they're horizontal, and they're like tornadoes on their side, and they come over and they come towards you every morning from about 6 a.m. So our old people taught us how to do a ceremony and a spiritual cleansing around these clouds, right? It's the only place it happens. White people know them as the morning glory cloud. So if you Google morning glory in the lower Gulf of Carpentaria, you'll see all these amazing images and photos and pictures. And white people come up there and they fly hand gliders. They jump in these hand gliders or these plane gliders, and they go up in them because it's like a big rush for them to ride this. It's like a huge surf wave to jump on it, and it goes for thousands of kilometers. But to us, to our local people, the Gangalita people and the Garua and the Wanyi, we actually used it as a cleansing ceremony. It was between these times now is when we have what we call our confession or our ceremonial confessions. Plus, we'd go out on the salt flats. There's a big salt flats up there. I created a healing festival at those salt flats a few years ago. We didn't have it last year, and we're not having it this year due to, of course, all these lockdowns and stuff and the hardships around that. But the healing ceremony I created was to bring different Native people from around the world together to share their knowledge around their medicinal, useful, herbs, and whether it was peyote from the Navajos in Arizona, whether it's ayahuasca from the Peruvians over in South America, whether it's kava from our Maori brothers from New Zealand. And we had, obviously pidgeri. Pidgeri is a smoke that we had to take us into the dreamscape, into the dream realm. And also we use sandalwood, laginda, for the purposes of healing, but also for a spiritual mind cleansing. So we drink laginda under the stars out on the salt flats at night. We'd dance, we'd do ceremonies, we'd sing our sacred songs that have special magical powers in them. This is what people don't realize. We, as Aboriginal people, believe our songs have spiritual magic in them.
That's beautiful.
Not black magic. Yeah, well, and it's true, because I've participated in all my life. It takes you into a place of peace and a place of calmness. There's this place in your mind and your body that you can get to when you use these songs and spiritual, dances in the right way. So when the morning glory clouds come every year, the Mabunta, when they come every year, which, they're amazing phenomenon, just to understand that Mother Earth has actually created this naturally. It's a natural phenomenon. It's not man-made. It's not something because of, pollution or anything else. It's actually been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And each year it comes. And if you think it's hot down in Sydney, up where I'm from, it's 40 degrees in the shade. It's always very, very hot. There's only 2 seasons up in the lower Gulf, wet season and dry season.
Yep.
That's when the rain comes, when the rain don't come. And guess what? Both seasons, it's hot. It's 40 degrees. It's very, very hot. But during September, November, and from September to November, September, October, November, the Mabunta comes, and you'll see them in the morning. You wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, you'll feel it's eerie, and it's all of a sudden you're in the spirit world. It takes you into a different atmosphere, and even your body, your hairs on the back of your neck stand up. You're about to experience something spiritual, something powerful, and something very real. Mm-hmm. When they come and they go over you, you can see them coming. All the birds go quiet, all the animals go quiet. The country, the land then starts to speak to you. And when you hear the didgeridoo and the clapsticks start clapping from our ceremony men and women, and we drink our sandalwood, you can then feel you're about to go somewhere special and somewhere sacred. When the clouds hit you and they come over you, they roll over you, and they come very low to the ground. Some of them very low, and you can see them. Sometimes, people feel you can touch them, especially after cups of sandalwood all night, you're probably up there dancing in them. But when they go over you, the temperature drops by about 10 to 20 degrees. The temperature drops and it sends this cold shiver through your body.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're standing in the earth out there on the salt flats and you're feeling the power of Mother Earth and this power of this, natural phenomenon sending this cold shiver through your body, we believe that's our time of sacred cleansing. It's our time of confession. We're giving up all our bad things the last 12 months. We're making our confession. We're also giving our spiritual cleansing. It's like a sweat lodge ceremony. It's also the same as a rebirthing ceremony. So it's a time for us to cleanse our body, mind, spirit, and soul
Mm-hmm.
to go for the next 12 months. Now, once that happens, we then also believe the clouds, as it rolls over us, it's picking up the spirit of our dead. So the dead people for the last 12 months, this cloud picks up their spirit and takes them up to the great Wangala, the great dreaming, the great spirit world. So it holds a very significant purpose within our spiritual world and within, our calendar. It's a time that we come to recuperate, rebirth, refresh, regenerate, and then come out the other side ready to face the next 12 months. So we always planned our year, our calendar around this event. It was planned because all of our mob would hunt in a circle to get to this natural place for this spiritual cleansing ceremony each year. After it was all done, after the ceremonies would happen, would then go on to initiation ceremonies and other ones. But it was always, the start of our calendar was around rebirthing with the Mabunta on the sacred salt flats of the Gangla people up at, there's a little town called Burketown.
Sorry,
and it's named
before you go on, what you were just talking about, that happens in December, right? Just to clarify.
No, it starts in September, October, and November. So we're right now it's taking place.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that because in my head I was seeing December for some reason.
Come December is when they stop, because that's when the big thunderstorms come. That's when the storms come and the cyclones. It's cyclone season, and believe it or not, that's the season. Because it comes straight after the clouds come, and as soon as the clouds finish, the wedge-tailed eagle, the Jadbagala, then starts to soar, because that's the time the Jadbagala starts to fly on top of the clouds and the cyclones and the storms to see and predict our future, what's going to happen for us. So a lot of our spirituality and our songs and our ceremonial songs also connects us to the animals. So we can see what our future is. We can, the kangaroos, the emu, the dugong, the sea turtle. We embody those animals completely. We take them on in physical form. We take them on in spiritual form. We take them on with our markings, and in our songs, our ceremonial magical songs actually have them in those songs, which connects them to us by our tongue. So then we're speaking, we're breathing that life of that animal. So we believe when we have dreams, it's a vision from these animals telling us the future or telling us what's going to happen to us next. So there's this real conscious kind of sanctuary and sacred place that Aboriginal people who I'm from, and I'm pretty sure wherever else, have a connection with animals on a more intimate level than I've seen with mob that are not, I guess, not Aboriginal from our area, because they don't have that thought pattern of this is a very sacred moment, this is a very important moment. Even crows, even scavengers, even things that people would not think that would be important to us is actually important to us, because it holds a special purpose in our ceremonies, in our songs, in our spirit world. And it holds a sacred meaning to why we honor those animals, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. Actually, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I remember when I had my sort of like spiritual awakening at the age of 11, the first animal that I saw in my dreams was a serpent, a snake. And it's actually interesting because that happened around 2004. And in 2020 or 2019, I had another dream about a snake. Like a snake came to me in my dreams again. So I was wondering, in Aboriginal spirituality, what does the serpent or the snake represent?
Well, in where I'm from, and I'll speak from out, we call the serpent the Bujimala, right? The Bujimala is the name we hold for the creator. So believe it or not, in our world, the rainbow serpent or the snake, the serpent, has taken on in our world as actually the creator of our lives, of our culture. It is the mother of that holds us. And it's not just any serpent, it's the rainbow serpent. And the reason it's a rainbow serpent is because it holds all colors of life. It holds all colors of man and woman. It holds all colors of human around the world, but it also holds all colors of our everyday life. So we believe that this great being, the Bujimala, was our creator. Now, this is one thing that I discuss with a lot of different spiritual people, is that we all have our different names and our different creation stories of how we've come about. So it's sometimes it's good to connect on that I guess importance of the our similarities. So the rainbow serpent to us is the creator, and in a lot of our songs and in a lot of our stories, it intertwines with different sort of spirit beings. But the Bujimala is the one that we believe is our, I wouldn't say our deity or our God, but we believe that's the mother that's created us.
Yeah, what about crows?
Crows are the uncles. Crows they're very important to us for the fact that crows for me is we call it jungai, my uncles. My uncles are my keepers. They're my godfathers. So when a crow comes to me, it's bringing me a message or a sign. And they're very smart animals, crows. People think crows are scavengers, or they're danger, or they're witchcraft. No, far from it. Crows are the total opposite. I'll tell you a story about crows, right? Back in I think it was 60s or 70s, the white people brought cane toads over here to get these, some sort of bug that was killing their canes and whatnot. And it started to, I guess, become a bit of a problem. And, there was cane toad became an issue, and it infested pretty much the whole of Queensland, started coming up our way, and it started killing out a lot of our native animals, because the guana started eating the cane toad, and it would kill it because of poison, because guanas are scavengers. But the old crow figured out that this cane toad had poison sacs on its back, and the crow watched it until he figured it out. He went, I need to eat this animal. But what he'd do is he'd fly down and he'd flip the cane toad over and he'd eat all his guts out, and he'd leave the sacs on its back. And the crow single-handedly stopped the cane toad infestation up in the Gulf country.
That's amazing.
That's the power of the crow. They're amazing animals, and I find them very spiritual, very powerful. And to me, they're my uncles. They're my jungai. They're my keeper, and they bring me message. Also warn me about stuff. If I see a crow, I'll ring one of my uncles and go, "Hey, you okay? What's going on?" And he goes, "Hey, where do you go?" I said, "Well, a crow came." He goes, "Oh, all right, yeah, now this is happening." So sometimes it'll bring good news, sometimes bad news, but always a crow to me is a friendly, is my jungai, my keeper, my teacher.
Yeah, beautiful. So would you say that is the animal that you feel more connected to, or is there another animal that you feel most connected to?
Well, for me, my totem or my spirit animal, my dreaming, they call it, is the black cockatoo, the red-tailed cockatoo, the lidagi, because my mother, when she dreamt me, this is before my conception, before I was even conceived, she dreamt me. It was the black cockatoos that told her I was coming. So she went straight away, my baby's coming, and that's his dreaming. So my spirit came to her on the wings of a black cockatoo. So when I physically die from this world, my spirit will then go back onto the wings of those black cockatoo that brought me to my mother's womb. So that's probably that's the animal that I'm most connected to. But I'm also very connected to the wedge-tailed eagle through, that was my name bestowed upon me for my actions physically on this world. So my physical actions connected me to the wedge-tailed eagle, but my spiritual connection and that I got to mum's womb from was from the black cockatoo. So they're the two probably animals that I'm really connected to. I'm very strongly connected to the guana as well, just through my life. Guana has always been something that's been important to me, and it's a really big ceremony and sacred story in our tribe, and we use it as well for medicinal purposes. The guana has the guana fat. So when we cook the guana, it's got fats down around where its, I guess, liver or kidneys are. And with that fat, we'd use it for aches and pains and ailments. And the guana is, it's an amazing animal, because when we cook it, there's a ceremony that goes with it. We have to do this song and this dance, and there's a certain way to cook it. And the certain way you have to take the gut out of it. You can't open the belly up. You can't cut it straight in the belly. You have to cut a little up here, and we use these rock knives, and down here you pull all the stuff out, and you tie it up, and you'd leave the belly empty, and then it cooks in its own skin. It kind of roasts inside of its own skin, and the skin is really tough and hard. It's hard skin. So after it's cooked, you then can peel the skin off like you're peeling a mango or an orange or something, and there's a really yummy meat. And the guana meat itself, I've been told by our elders that because the guana is a scavenger and would eat, like, guanas eat everything. They eat snakes, they eat dead carcasses. They're part of the monitor family. They're monitors, just like the iguana and what's those big sort of monitors over on the Galapagos Island, the big poison one, what do they call the real big ones? They get real poison mouths and that.
Tell you.
Guanas are,
oh, what happened?
Are similar. They've got a certain sort of saliva. I'm still on my end. Yeah,
but it froze a little.
Okay. So guanas are very important animals because the old people told me that when you do the song and when you sing these sacred songs to them, when you're cooking them, you got to warm them first. There's a certain way you got to warm them, because when you sing the songs, when you're eating it, it ignites a medicine in it. Mm-hmm. So the meat in it is medicine. It has really powerful medicinal purposes in it, because the guana eats a lot of scavengers. It eats rubbish, and it turns it into its meat, and it becomes part of its body.
Interesting.
So when we eat the guana, when we eat the meat, that goes into our bodies, and it builds up a resistance to, I guess, some of the things it's eaten through our immune system. So when we do the songs that we do, the ceremonial, spiritual, magic songs, we believe it ignites the power in that guana. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I remember doing a video, I think it was last year. It was just a bit of a fun video, having a bit of a joke, and I was sitting with my mum and brother eating the guana, and I was talking about this, how the guana is my vaccine. And I copped a lot of flack for it, and I copped a lot of, but people didn't realize that I was talking not just in the physical form, but also in the spiritual magic world. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to jump back on there and defend myself and try and explain to these people, because they don't live in my world. So they don't understand. They don't understand there's a different level to just saying, yeah, the guana is my vaccine. It goes with a lot of levels to it. There's a song that goes with it. There's spirituality that goes with it. There's a certain way to cook it. There's a certain way to eat it. There's a lot of things they have to go into to make it a magic potion. Because I believe it, because I live it, because I breathe it, and because for the past 45 years of my life, that's all I know. It's real to me, and it's kept me safe. It's kept me healthy, and I've got no reason to doubt it.
So what kind of criticism did you get from the people who, like, you told this to?
I did this video last year on my Facebook page, and it went viral. I had no idea it went viral until recently. So if you jump on my Alec Doomadgee Facebook page and look for the guano video, you'll see that I'm kind of having a bit of fun on there, and I'm with my mum and my younger brother at bush, and I'm being cheeky, and I'm just but at the same time, there's a lot of reality in what I'm saying and doing. But then a lot of people jumped on having a go at me, and I had a fair few people coming at me going, "Oh, mate, you're killing your own people. You're telling them to go and eat guano. Guano's not a vaccine." But they're not on my level. They're not on my spiritual level. They're not on my cultural level to me to sit with them and actually explain this to them. I can't explain, homework from university to kindergarten students.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to waste my time doing it. This is the big kids table here. You understand? So the discussion that happens here happens from a spiritual, ceremony, cultural level, and from my lived experience. I'm not going to tell you something that I haven't done myself. Everything I'm talking about, things that I've experienced, things that I've lived, things that I've done. I drink sandalwood. This is my medicine. In fact, when I'm finished here, this is what I'm going to drink, and it's served me well for my life. And I'm pretty healthy, and I've looked after myself well. I'm not saying that Western medicine isn't bad. I'm not saying that all Western medicine is bad. I'm just saying that my own natural medicinal stuff that I've practiced for a long period of time actually has done me well. And I feel the old ways and using our ancient culture and ancient knowledge is a really powerful way to live and to actually go back into. I don't understand why it's become taboo, or it's become a scary thing to go and live by. I mean, I go back and sleep in caves. You want to know why I do that? Mm-hmm. Because that's the closest I'm going to get to the spirits of my old people. So I back up home where my land is, we have these amazing caves that have carvings and paintings, and the presence is there. You can feel it. It's like going into a cathedral, or going into a Buddhist temple, or going into a
it's frozen again.
Sacred space where you practice your ceremony. Are we still there? Maybe it's because I'm in the airstream outside. So let me just open the door here and see if that's a bit better there. I'm getting 1 bar there. Oh, there we go, 2 bars. That might be better.
Yeah, I reckon
2 bars might be good.
Yeah.
So there we go, 3 bars. Hang on, let me just shut this. Sorry, I just had to open the door because the Airstream is a aluminium tin caravan made from old airplane parts from the 50s.
Okay.
It's an American, in the American Airstreams. So That's what I'm sitting outside. I've got it as my little office to do my podcast and stuff, but the reception's terrible in here. It's really bad reception.
To be honest, I only have 2 bars on my own phone, and I live closer to the city, so it's just. Right.
So I guess there's a lot of our different animals that we eat as well had medicinal purposes for it, and over many years of practicing, many years of cooking in a certain way, that's what served me well. And even with our plants, up home, we eat korojong roots, and if you know the korojong tree, but the korojong tree, the smaller ones around the base of the tree, you dig it up and it has a long, it's like a carrot. It's orange. We eat that. That has really powerful sort of a medicine in that as well. Then there's a bush potato, which we call gujuluru. Gujuluru has really powerful medicine in that as well. That we grew up eating, and we'd use that. We'd cook it in certain ways. We'd cook it in the fire. We'd eat it raw. We have berries at home. We have berries like dungugu and wulungu and congaberry. We've got all these different amazing berries that I grew up eating that I didn't realize no one else knew. I don't know. when I came to the city, I was like, "You mop that congaberry here or dungugu?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh shit, that's actually only ours up home." We even have this tree that has a fruit, but it's also used for like skin ailments. Like this tree, the giriga tree, giriga has this fruit, and it's a hairy little fruit, and you can eat it, but it also has this leaf, and the leaf, it's like sandpaper. It's hard, and and you scratch. So if you got sores, if you got scabies, or a ringworm or something, you use this to scratch it, and there's medicine that comes out of the leaf and actually heals it.
Yep.
And I got no I guess scientific proof that this works. All I got is my lived experience, and it's worked all my life with me.
Yeah.
That's all I know. And the tree's been out there for years, and I got to tell you, like, I've recently found out that people up here in this lower part of Queensland, near Brisbane, through the Sunshine Coast, they've got a plant called Gumby Gumby. Have you ever heard of Gumby Gumby?
No.
Google Gumby Gumby. It's starting to become very well known and very famous because they're actually using it. They've discovered that they're now turning it into, the local mob are actually starting to harvest it. The Gumby Gumby plant has, I guess, been used to fight cancer, and it's become a real powerful, well-known plant here in this, sort of eastern sort of seaboard of Queensland. Gumby Gumby, that's the one. Gumby Gumby. It's an amazing plant. So if there's one plant you want to get your hands on, get you some Gumby Gumby.
Gumby Gumby.
Again, there's different ways to do it. You can eat it, you can boil it. I've known people who smoked it, because you can use it for smoke as well. So Gumby Gumby is a really, really powerful spiritual plant. And again, there's a lot of songs and ceremonies that go with them.
Songs and ceremonies that go with it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So there's a ceremonial purpose, and there's a spiritual purpose for a lot of the medicine we use. It's weird because what nationality are you?
Persian and Turkish.
Persian and Turkish. Well, you understand this because your people would have been using medicine as well for a long period of time. The Chinese, I speak to a lot of Chinese people, that used herbs and all their different little medicines that they had, and that they practiced with, and that they experimented with over thousands of years, and they have the same sort of knowledge as well, which really, really is fascinating. When I go to America and I spend time with the Native Americans, I spend a fair bit of time with the Lakota Indians, the Lakota people in South Dakota. A lot of their medicine, it's just on a different level, and it's really beautiful to see they're still practicing it and using it, because when I bring them here to my world, I introduce them to what we're doing, and the same thing. The brothers from New Zealand will bring over some kava for us to sit and drink, and it helps you. It helps your organs. It cleans you out, and it takes you away from, I guess, the toxic poison of alcohol, because alcohol has a lot of bad stuff in it that hurts your kidneys. There's a lot of reasons why alcohol is bad for you. Where even like sandalwood helps me. Like sandalwood will clean my kidneys out. It'll clean my lungs out. It'll go through my blood. Like some of the things that when I drink sandalwood, and the next day and how I feel, it just makes me a lot more energy. I feel a lot more alive. I'm more alert. My eyesight's better. I can smell. It's just a really powerful, natural medicine from my homelands.
Yeah, and it makes me kind of like think about how throughout this scamdemic, I'm not going to call it pandemic because it's not.
Yeah, of course.
Throughout this scamdemic, like a lot of people are kind of back to more natural ways to like heal themselves, or there's actually been a bit of an uprise in using plant medicines and strengthening your immune system naturally. So
Exactly.
It really is kind of like the timeline of what's going on in the last 2 decades, at least. I think it's a bit of a great awakening vibe, and not a lot of people
There really is.
Yeah. So did you want to expand on what your thoughts are on the Great Awakening? Because I've learned a lot this this year. Like my whole world has been flipped upside down.
Let me quickly, I think my battery's about to go flat. Let me quickly grab, you want to pause it for a second?
So the Great Awakening, what's your thoughts on it?
So my thoughts on the Great Awakening is this. I believe that something very powerful is taking place, not just in the universe, not just on Earth, but around the universe. And I believe everyone that has a connection to the spirit world, everyone that has connection to their inner light and their inner, I guess, being, this is their time. Right? This is their time, because a lot of the others that are still asleep are going to eventually be reaching out for us to take the blindfolds off them. Now, Aboriginal people, for over 80,000 years, have been the masters of the spirit world, right? And we've lived in it, and we've breathed it, we believe it, we honor it, we practice it. So one of the things we're the masters of as well is we practice this art called the art of Dadiri. The art of Dadiri is a very ancient practice amongst Aboriginal people, and it's the art of the wait. We know how to wait. We know how to wait for the right time, wait for the right purpose, wait for the perfect storm to come. And right now is the perfect storm. Do you understand? So I believe without a doubt that this is all happening because it's been foretold in our ceremonies that something big is going to happen, and we have to wait for that right time. People always say to me in Australia, white fellas came here 240 years ago, and they, invaded years, and they defeated years in war, and they did all this stuff. We knew and we know our connection to this country so deep and so powerful and so real that eventually the awakening was going to come. You'll see bushfires happening. You'll see tsunamis happening. You see earthquakes happening. It's Mother Earth, and it's our connection, our real spiritual, powerful connection to that being that actually is about to come to the forefront. And when I talk about the Great Awakening, the scandemic that you talk about, that these mob are trying to perpetrate and push on us.
Can I just say one thing before you continue? I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to also bring up the fact that an earthquake happened in Victoria just a couple of weeks ago. Isn't that wild? That's not a coincidence.
No, it isn't. It isn't a coincidence. You gotta remember that Aboriginal people have an ancient art of spiritual power, and it's not black magic, it's magic. It really is magic. And the earth is literally our people. Australia is our people, right? Someone asked me recently, what do you mean when you say you belong? I'll say to them, well, we've been here over 80,000 years, Aboriginal people, right? Our bloodlines, our connection, our ancestry goes back 80,000 plus, if not more. When a race of people are in that one area for that long, when our old people died, our ancestors, their body became the earth, their bones became the rocks, their flesh became the trees, the sustenance that goes up into the trees became our people, our ancestors. They became the fertilizer that fertilized those trees, those rocks, those rivers, those lakes. Therefore, when you're walking past a tree and you're breathing out your carbon dioxide, and that tree's taking that in and giving you the oxygen, you're literally breathing in the oxygen of my ancestors. That's how deep our belonging is in this country. So when an earthquake comes, when a flood comes, or fire, or a storm, you don't think that's connected to us somehow? That's how strong our spirituality, our belief system is. We believe signs. We believe in the customary law of our people. I will go and fast, or I will go and sit in a mountain and fast for days because I believe my ancestors are going to feed me and look after me spiritually, mentally, psychologically. I will live through that. I practice, cultures and ceremonies that We use pain, we use certain parts, or the feelings in our body to take us on a different realm and into a different sort of, realm and dreamscape that takes you into the great dreaming, and your mind can then cleanse itself. Unfortunately, in the mainstream world, or in the white man's world, they use drugs and alcohol and certain substances that takes away their real spirit and takes away their true connection. And don't get me wrong, a lot of us get lost as well, and a lot of our we go off the track too. But when you come into the reality of who we are and what we're about, and the center of our universe has always been our belief in the great dreaming, the great spirit. So I believe without a doubt that this great awakening that's happening, it's giving people like yourself that have come to Australia to find a home an opportunity to open your eyes to people like me, and to understand that there is something greatly wrong here in this country that we need to right. There's unfinished business here. You got to remember that our white brothers and sisters are still illegally occupying tribal lands without consent. So they have to rectify that great injustice in order for their grandchildren and their children to become legal instead of illegal aliens in someone else's country. And until those wrongs are righted, until we address them and we are mature enough to acknowledge that this is the way forward, guess what? The spirits still aren't going to be happy. And this country's still not going to be happy. Mm-hmm. It's telling you something. It's telling you to wake up. It's telling you to understand that this is the time for change. We're upon a great change now. Back in 2012, I was sitting with the Hopis, and there was this great, the Hopi, the Navajo, the Hopi tribe is in Arizona, right beside the Navajos, and they're regarded as the oldest Native American. The Navajos, the Hopis, and the Pablos. I was sitting with them, and there's this great Hopi prophecy. We're just connecting to the Mayas, as the Mayans and the Incas. About 2012 was the end of days, the end of the world. What white fellows took that literally, there was that, white people going, that's all, the world's going to end in 2012. No, that cycle of the world ended then. It was like a calendar, you understand? So we're now in this new cycle. And 2020 and 2021, we're now in this washing machine cycle. It's now about to spit us out. So we're in a wash at the moment. The best I can describe is we're in a washing machine. Soon we need to go on, they need to hang us on the line so we can dry out, or put us in a dryer, whatever you want to do. Then it comes to the next phase is when you wear the clothes again. So when you get to wearing the clothes again, I'm hoping, and the spirits and the ancestors and the old people are hoping, is that most people are going to be awake.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, people are slowly awakening, just like you said. So at the moment, we're unfortunately, we're all dirty clothes in the washing machine, getting a little bit of chucked around a little bit. That's the best description I think I'll be honest, that only just came to me. I've never spoken like that before about it being a washing machine. That's exactly what it is. We're in a wash cycle at the moment. Soon we're going to come to the drying or the hanging out on the clothesline. Then you have to wear those clothes again. And once we pull those pants back on again, we need to be able to understand that there's a lot of wrongs we need to right. And that's where I believe we're at.
So I wanted anybody who's watching this video to understand what exactly has happened. God, I hope I don't say this wrong, but the deception.
There's nothing you say is wrong. Everything's, nothing you say is wrong. Okay. Just ask it.
So the deception that oh my God, I'm gonna screw up really bad. It's always in my head, but I can't say it out loud. So I'll use somebody else as an example. Lampa. I shared a video where I don't know if you saw the video of, do you know that man named Lampa? I actually sent you his Instagram once.
Lampa. Oh yeah. I see. I didn't watch the video, I gotta say.
Yeah.
What was in it?
He's basically trying to take back the land. Mm-hmm. And he's been trying to for the last couple of years. So a lot of people say that just like really ignorant things about Aboriginal tribes. And
Yeah.
they say that, you guys you take your privilege for granted. What would you say to something like that? Because, okay, I'll admit, like when I was at university, I was one of those people, but that was like in 2015 or something. So I'm sorry. I wanted to say that I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I'm about to post a post later from a Martin Luther King, not Martin, it was Malcolm X. He says, don't be too quick and too harsh to judge other people, because there was a time when you didn't know what you know now. And it's what I'm saying, that is, I'm not giving you a free pass for not knowing earlier. What I'm saying to you is, at that time you didn't have the knowledge you have now, and eventually a lot of the other people will as well. And there is a lot of stereotypical sort of I guess bantering out there, or people out there that would hold Aboriginal people in a certain light. But that's because you've been listening to the narrative of the people in charge. So take the current narrative around this scamdemic and place that on how they've made you perceive me. You understand what I'm saying to you? So this is why the Great Awakening is happening, is because the narrative you've been spoon-fed about Aboriginal people is the same tactic they're using right now to spoon-feed you what the scandemic is, or what the jabby is. When you understand that, when you understand the lies behind it, you'll know what I'm saying to you, is that everything you ever heard was a lie, because they wanted you to be separated from someone like me, so you didn't find the truth. And the truth is, like I said earlier, everyone in Australia is unfortunately illegally occupying tribal lands that the Aboriginal people are still yet to consent to you sleeping in our lounge room. Because you're currently living in a house rent-free and haven't paid rent for about 240 years. But we've been waiting for you to pay your rent. We're very, very good landlords. What I'll say to the people that has this perception of Aboriginal people, or this stereotypical view of us, just look at what they're doing to you and how they're controlling you with all this scandemic stuff, all this jabby stuff, everything around what they're feeding you at the moment, the narrative they're giving you, they're lying to you, and that's the same tactic they use to make you think differently of me. I was given someone a different example the other day on another chat I was having, and it was about how they tell you that Aboriginal people get special treatment, and we get like we get more money if we go to university, or we get our universities paid for. We actually don't. That's not true. It's all lies, and it's all, again, part of the system lying to you. Here's a perfect example, right? I'll give you a couple. White Australian kids, or normal, I wouldn't say, just anyone who's not Aboriginal, they get this thing from Centrelink, or this payment called Austudy, right? Austudy. Well, this is, I remember it called, I don't know what it's called these days, but it used to be called Austudy. Austudy gave you a little bit of funds to pay your rent and blah, blah, blah. Aboriginal people get Abstudy. Guess what? It's actually the same thing. Same amount, nothing more, nothing less. Just got a different name. Same like, housing commission houses that poor white people live in. Aboriginal people live in Aboriginal housing. Nothing different. They're both the same. They're both poor, rundown, shitty houses. They've just given it a different name and made you believe that white people and black people were getting different, and that Aboriginal mob were getting special treatment. No, the narrative was being controlled, and still is, by these illegal occupying governments that want to keep Aboriginal people a secret, and their dirty little lie hidden under the carpet that they haven't addressed, and got unfinished business with us. So someone like you, who's a Persian young lady, that comes from over there, when you come to this country, you're dark skinned. When the Sudanese come here, when the Tongans come here, the Maoris come here, The white fellas bring you in, they Australianize you in their bullshit Aussie ceremonies and make you an Australian citizen, give you a passport, which is an illegal document. It's not worth the paper it's written on in international law, because they've not addressed the consent and the contract to actually start a country. You understand? So what they do is they bring you in, and then they spoon feed you all their lies and their propaganda and make you think, gee, these white fellows are really good. Look at all these great things they do for these Aboriginal people. They give them free houses, free cars. How come these fellows aren't pulling up by their bootlaces and doing good and making well? I'll tell you one thing about this country that is a shining beacon of the treatment of Aboriginal people. There is no Aboriginal Gina Reinhardt. There is no Aboriginal forest, Twiggy Forrest. There is no Aboriginal Oprah Winfrey. You understand what I'm saying? There's no Aboriginal billionaires or millionaires in this country, because the system has been set up so blatantly to be discriminative, to obstruct, to stifle, and to block my advancement. Now, if I was doing so well, if we were getting all this free stuff, why aren't there Aboriginal millionaires everywhere? Why aren't there Aboriginal businessmen walking around in suits? Why aren't there Aboriginal men and women owning yachts driving around Sydney Harbour? Why don't we own all the skyscrapers? Why don't we own all the big businesses? You understand what I'm saying to you? So the evidence that's going against the narrative that you're being fed is obvious enough. Again, I'll go back to the scandemic. This whole scam-damic that's going on, it's a blueprint for what they've been feeding you about Aboriginal mob. That's where they got the play from. It's the same playbook, same playbook, same tactic, tried and true, just regurgitated it in a new form. And here we are.
It's just like, this is a big reason I brought you on here, because I just wanted you to talk about this kind of stuff. I wanted to spread
I'm happy to.
So just so people get a more clear understanding of how like deep the racism runs, give us more insight on that.
Racism in this country, you as a dark-skinned girl would have experienced a little bit of it. You would have got a certain taste of it. Now, there's a unique brand of racism directly and specifically for Aboriginal people. And it's totally different to what Sudanese would feel, what Tongans would feel, what even the Italians, right? The Italians that came in the 40s and 50s. A lot of these houses in Sydney and Melbourne, they brought the Italians over. Let's be real, they brought them over as slave labor, and they came over here to build their houses and stuff. But they were, they experienced a lot of racism too. Here's how unique and special this country is with racism, right? We are still not recognized on the Australian founding documents, the Constitution of Australia, right? Which was, became a federation in 1901. You want to know what Australia Day really is? Australia Day is the 1st of January in 1901. That's when Australia became a federation and became a country of its own birth away from England. On that day, when the founding documents happened, not once did it mention, and still to this day doesn't mention, the First Nation race that was here before them. But what it did mention was the first policy it has was the white Australian policy. The white Australian policy was to keep Australia white, and anyone of dark skin was not allowed to immigrate here. You want to know when that got changed? In 1973, when the Geneva Convention stepped in, because the Vietnam War just ended, and Australia wouldn't let Vietnamese immigrate here because they were dark. No black-skinned people were allowed to immigrate to this country under the white Australia policy. That's how racist this country is, that in its founding document, the white Australia policy was in effect until the 1970s. All dark-skinned people that came here before that were slaves. They were slave labor. They brought the Chinese in as slave. They brought the Kanakas in. They brought South Sea Islanders in. They brought the Indonesians in as slave labor. And when they brought them in, those dark-skinned people came and infiltrated and became a part of the Aboriginal community. You'll know that there's a lot of dark-skinned people, whether they're Indonesian, Chinese, or whatnot, that married into Aboriginal mob and became part of the Aboriginal story. So if you're talking about racism in this country, it's very unique and very specific and very blatant and arrogant and out in the open. I mean, this is the only country in the world where you still can do blackface and everyone laughs at it. Like, there were people on TV only a couple of years ago doing black faces at a Serena Williams tennis game. You understand what I'm saying to you? And people go, just a bit of laughing, just a bit of larrikinism, just a bit of scar-liking. That's the Aussie way, mate. Take a joke. No, it's not a joke. You do that in America or any other country, and they will shoot you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Believe.
So the racism here is very open, it's very blatant, and it's very obvious. Now, when I talk about this, I say it with the utmost respect for all my other dark-skinned family that have finally come here and immigrated here. But when they come in, the white man taints them and feeds them rubbish and poisons their mind towards Aboriginal people. So they also take on the hate, and they also take on the, misinformation about Aboriginal people. And they hate on us just as bad as the white fella does.
It's so disgusting.
You understand?
Yeah.
And this is where they're going wrong. And I was saying this at the Black Lives Matter marches last year. I look at them going, you know, all you black folk, I don't care if you're African, Sudanese, whatever culture you are, you come here, but you're still slave to the white man. You still got your slave master telling you what to do. You know, and that's even with my Tongan, Maori, Samoan brothers that come over here and sisters. They become bouncers at nightclubs for the white nightclub owners. And guess who the first people that tell to bash up on and keep out? Those lazy abos. Keep those abos out of here. They got no money. They stink. They smell, and they're not welcome in here. So guess what they do? They hate on our mob too. So that the cycle continues. And the only thing that's changing at the moment is this great awakening. And the great awakening is around the real culture and ceremony and the real connection that we have with this land. So I've sat with a lot of Maori brothers, a lot of Tongan brothers, a lot of Samoan, and they've cried to me and gone, I cannot believe we're so blinded. I said, yeah, the reason you're blinded is because you live on a low socio-economical sort of world as well, and you need to feed your family, and the white man in this country has the money to feed your family. So you need that job from him. It's all about the big dollar at the end of the day. We're Aboriginal mob. Money's not important to us. It'll be good to have money. I love to eat, love to feed people as well. But it's not really important. What's important to us is our culture, our law, our ceremony, our integrity, our families. That's what's important to us. And a lot of our dark-skinned brothers that come from, and sisters for that matter, that come over here, they come over for a better life. And to have a better life in Australia, you have to walk the white man's line, because it's the white man's narrative and the white man's world, because he's using his power and his influence with his fund and his money to make sure you're comfortable. The only way you're going to get a bank loan to start your business is if a white man guarantees you. The only way you're going to get a loan for your car or your house is if a white man guarantees you and says you're okay. You want to know why? Because they've got a long history and relationship with those banks, with those financial institutions, that they can walk into. You see what I'm going here? Let's talk about freedom in this country. Let's talk about financial freedom. Let's talk about financial independence from the powers that be. The Aboriginal man or the Aboriginal woman has been left behind because we are not even human on their very, very illegal constitution. So therefore, I don't have a long history and relationship with the banks. So I can't go in and get a loan to fix my bankruptcy. I can't get a business loan. I can't get all that stuff that you normally would have a long history with. It's not there for us. Now, one thing that they did was when they stole the land, it's all stolen land, that's their foundation for their future. That gives them their foundation. When white people stole the land, the British stole the land, and white Aussies are living and benefiting from it. So this is one thing I want to address as well. Is a lot of white people say it wasn't us, man. It was our fault. It was the other generation. If you today are living comfortably in this country, and if you today are benefiting from the crimes of your forefathers, you are part of the problem. You cannot sit in a stolen car and the cops come along. If the cops come along to you, you're in the back seat and someone else is driving, but you know that's a stolen car. You can't walk up to them and go, hey, I knew it was a stolen car, but I'm not going to get charged with it. No, you, if you're benefiting from the proceeds of crime and benefiting from your forefathers' actions, then you're part of the problem. And you are doing it to us. So if you don't change it and fix it, you're going to get left behind, because the Great Awakening is happening. And eventually it's all going to come out, and it's going to be such a big splurge. It's going to be like vomiting all the bad stuff up after you had ayahuasca, or after you had a big night out drinking and you had tequila shots and you were drinking all that different rubbish spirits. And you know those nights, you must know those nights, right? You went to university where you've drank beer, you've drank Bundaberg rum, you've had tequila shots, and then you.
God, I would never to do that to myself. I don't drink at all.
Good, stay that way, because that's what Australia's about to do. Australia's about to have this really big, I guess, splurge. It's going to all come out, and this is what this is about as well. So when we talk about racism in this country, there's a very unique racism for Aboriginal people. The amount of black deaths in custody is 10 times more than America. More Aboriginal people are dying in police custody here on a daily basis. 2 days ago, right where I am, a young man died, 27 years old. The cops killed him. Where's his march? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Aboriginal people get up and march for it, because that's what we'll do. That's what we do every year on the 26th of January, on the very day that they invaded our land and stole our livelihood. We march and we stand up for it, because Black lives do matter to us, and it's mattered for a long, long time.
What do you say
in the last week?
Sorry, what do you say to the people that are for changing the date? Because that comes up a lot.
I'm very happy to change the date. There's nothing wrong with changing the date. You want to know the history behind Australia Day?
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick history lesson, right? So Australia Day, right, shouldn't be on the 26th of January for a lot of reasons. One of them is that's not the day Australia became a country. The 1st of January 1901 was when it became federation. It became a federated country, right? So that's the actual date. Up until 1994, they had it everywhere else. The 26th of January only became Australia Day in 1994. The reason it did was because 2 years earlier, a man called Eddie Mabo proved in the High Court of Australia that terra nullius was a lie. He overturned the doctrine of terra nullius. Terra nullius is what Governor Arthur Phillip stated when he planted the British flag and claimed the new colony of New South Wales on the 26th of January. I'll repeat that. On the 26th of January, 1788, Governor Arthur Phillips planted the Union Jack from Britain on behalf of the Queen, actually the King back then, planted and claimed the land on behalf of the King and called it the new colony of New South Wales. Not Australia, the new colony of New South Wales. He said, we take this under the presumption that this place is terra nullius. I think it's a Latin word that means a land of no people. You understand? So that was in play right up until 1992, when an amazing man from the Torres Strait Islands called Eddie Mabo, who was a janitor cleaning at James Cook University in Townsville, and started reading legal books. He then got himself some lawyers, and he took the Australian government to court, right to the Australian High Court in Canberra, and he proved in their own High Court that terra nullius was a lie, and he overturned that doctrine. When he did that, it sent shockwaves through the Australian government. It sent shockwaves through big businesses. It sent shockwaves through big mining companies, because the entire country up to that stage was lying and living on that lie to the rest of the world. You understand? When he overturned that, the government had to come up with something strategic and something smart. So they went, we'll teach these abos, we'll kick them back in line. Let's have our Australia Day, our celebration, on the very day we invaded them. So they strategically and tactically took the 26th of January, the one that Aboriginal people had been protesting against since 1936. In 1936, an Aboriginal man called Jack Patton, a very fierce warrior in Sydney. The Patton family, Wesley Patton, one of my brothers, he's still in Sydney. He's the king of Sydney. He's the king of Redfern. His grandfather, Jack Patton, in 1936, marched on Town Hall in Sydney and started what was known as the Day of Mourning. If you don't know about it, Google it, because you'll find out who Jack Patton was. He marched on the 26th of January, 1936. You want to know why he did that? A few years earlier, a few of them met up with this American boxer called Jack Johnson, who beat the living shit out of a white man in Sydney. He came over from America. He was the greatest heavyweight ever born. And he, I think it was 1908. He beat the living shit out of this white man who was going to be the great white hope. And they banned the footage of that fight for 50 years because they didn't want to see this great, big, strong black man, African-American man, beating this white man up in Australia. But when they met with him, they spoke to him about all this movement going on around the world, you know, and they started speaking about this date, the 26th of January. So Jack Patton led a protest about it, and they protested for years. And every year on the 26th of January, Aboriginal people have been protesting. We've been protesting long before it was Australia Day. You understand?
Yeah.
Way before it was Australia Day. But in 1994, as a reaction to the Mabo decision in the High Court of Australia, this country decided to strategically turn that into Australia Day as an insult for fellows like you that immigrate here to celebrate on the very day they stole our land. They created genocide. They had germ warfare. They spread the smallpox and the common flu in the Sydney Harbour to kill thousands of people, Aboriginal people. It's a day of murder, rape, torture, and stolen land. That's why it's wrong. And all the descendants of convicts that are so proud to celebrate that day, they really should be ashamed of themselves, because on that day, after Governor Arthur Phillips planted that flag, they then released all these drunken convicts. And if I was a descendant of a convict, I would not just be ashamed, I'd also be in mourning as well. Because when they released these drunken convicts, there was a ship full of men and there was a ship full of women, all convicts. Some of them were just stealing bread. Now, a day out from when before they parked there at Sydney Harbour, they plied them all with alcohol, with rum. Now imagine having a young 18 or 19-year-old girl in there that just stole bread. The minute they released them, right where Sydney Harbour is, right where the opera house is, there was mass rapes because the convicts attacked all the women. And the redcoats, which is the army, they picked and choose their young girl, their woman that they were going to have for their sex slave first. This is the history of this country. And if you're going to celebrate on that day, the mass rape and torture and bashing of women in the Sydney Harbour, if you're going to celebrate a day that's foundation is built on misogyny, racism, and denial, then
It's kind of bad karma.
You're very, very sick, right? And this is what I say to a lot of people. I send prayers and spiritual blessings for all the white people because they're the most sick mob. They're carrying transgenerational guilt, and they're carrying the atrocities that their people have perpetrated on this country, and they're very sick. They're spiritually sick, they're psychologically sick, and they're mentally sick. That's why they keep trying to band-aid fix everything and keep the lies going, because their denial is keeping them comfortable. And unfortunately, unless they are waking with the rest of us, they're going to fade away into nothing. Because this country, guess what, is getting black again. More dark-skinned people are now immigrating to here. It's easier for them to come over. More Sudanese, more Africans, more Sri Lankans, Indians, more Persians are coming here. more islanders are coming in. This place is becoming a dark-skinned country again. And eventually, with, I guess, instruments like yourself, using your platform to give someone like me the opportunity to speak, the truth is going to get out. And once the truth is out, people are going to start behaving differently and start taking action. So that's where we're at. We're at that point where, the truth is about to just burst like a volcano and come out of its mouth. That's what I'm talking about. This big splurge is going to happen. This great kind of, I guess, explosion or eruption is about to take place. And it's a good thing. We actually need it. To feel better and to become a better nation, better people, and better country, we actually need to let the bad stuff out. The sicky needs to come out. But don't get the jabby to get rid of the sicky, because you might die.
Oh, I mean, like, my whole family has already gone and gotten their double jabs, and my sister is like, she's gonna go and get her second dose soon, but they're already talking about booster shots. Like, this is a nightmare. They're gonna talk about booster shots, and they're already implementing these ideas into people's heads. Oh, there's a new strain. Oh, we have to prepare for a booster shot. And my mom, she believes in the government. Everyone in my household believes in the government. The government wouldn't help them, and I can't talk to them about this stuff. It's just
you can only do what you can, and you can only live by, I guess, your experience as well. And with them, they've immigrated here, I take it, yeah. So to them, the white man's been very good to them. The government's been very nice to them, kind to them. It's given them a home, given them a place to I guess, be successful and succeed. And they're very comfortable in their world. It's not a war-torn country like I guess a lot of that. There's a lot of countries around the world that live below the poverty line, and it's very. There is a lot of beauty. There is a lot to like about the Aussie lifestyle, yeah, and it makes them comfortable, and it keeps them, obedient, and keeps them in that safety and sanctuary of, we have to do what they say because they've looked after us so far. Why would they lie to us? You understand?
Yeah, it's the great rap.
Oh, it's one of the greatest tricks ever. I remember this is the quote from the Bible. I remember a Christian fellow saying to me, he goes, the greatest trick the devil ever did was make you believe that he wasn't real. Like, shit, that could be used in a lot of different forms, could it?
Yeah.
I looked at him and I said, what if you're the devil? You're like, oh, I never thought about that. I'm like, maybe you are the devil. All I can say is that, there is change upon us, and there is a great awakening on us. And don't worry too much about your parents and your family. As long as in their head they believe they're doing the right thing and whatnot. I feel that this jabby they're giving our people, it has something in it that's triggering a lot of people, and it's certainly triggering and killing a fair few Aboriginal people, because it's given them heart issues and making the heart, a lot of them having heart attacks.
It's horrible.
And it seems they're attacking us again, and I'm trying to do my little bit to awaken them, but I have to do it in a strategic way, because if you come out, I don't know if you know what the what's it called, the Stockholm syndrome is. Yeah. A lot of my people have Stockholm syndrome, right? And they love their oppressor, and they believe they're oppressed, just like your parents. They believe them, that they're doing the right thing by us. And I said to him, I said, but how can you be out here marching with me for Black Lives Matter and black vets in custody, and how can you be beside me for the other stuff, but you're believing them with this shit? Like, how can, like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, you're believing them over me that's been standing beside you in the trenches here for the last 40 years. Like, I've been in the trenches with you. I've been down here fighting, man. Like, why would I don't have no reason to lie to you? Like, I got there's no purpose that I got no reason whatsoever to lie to my own people.
Yeah, I mean, like it's the same kind of deal with my family, but I think I kind of screwed up when I when I became vegan and kind of went really militant on them, saying, "Oh, it's so wrong, and please stop doing it." And I was just like, I think I cried wolf a lot. I'm very like strongly opinionated, and
Oh,
like,
you're in all sorts of trouble then. You're no way out of that one.
it's wrong. Okay, it's wrong. It's wrong. Killing animals for no reason is wrong.
Yeah, I know. And I tell you, like veganism, it's something that we eat a lot of plants. Like Aboriginal people ate a lot of plants before, I guess, colonization or invasion or settlement, or you want to call it. We had a lot of fruits, we had a lot of plants. It was hard to catch a kangaroo. It was hard to chase them down without a gun.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I mean, a lot of our men we did eat kangaroo, and we did eat, certain meats and stuff, but it wasn't like an everyday thing.
Yeah, like
because they were hard to catch.
Well,
And then there were seasons. There were different seasons. And there was, I'd say on average, most of our people especially back in the old days, lived on plants, and we were like, for probably 70% of the time.
yeah.
Because that was the easiest thing to get to. Maybe eating grubs and stuff like that as well, but most of the time it was plants. Like sandalwood. I eat quite a bit of sandalwood. I even chew the leaves. It's yummy. Like the leaves of sandalwood. This stuff here then is really good. Like,
God, you're making me want to eat it now.
the best thing for you, right? Sandalwood. Yeah. Tastes good, really good for you.
Yep.
Don't even have to cook it up. But yeah, veganism. You're in a lot of trouble with your family then.
Oh God, it's just like my family. They're very like. I feel very like the black sheep of the family. We've never really connected like in the ways that I wish that we would. Like I'm a very spiritual person. I kind of like tune out of the mainstream narrative and the mainstream media, and they're just my brother, like he goes out all the time. He doesn't really like to be in the house. He goes out drinking. He's an atheist. I don't think he really I haven't spoken to him recently about it, but as far as I know, he doesn't really have any connection to spirituality. And if I even try to talk to my family about anything spiritual, they're just like so put off. So they have very masculine energy. Like masculine in my head is like they're more connected to like physical things or things that you can see and touch and smell instead of like something more spiritual, higher, feminine energy. I'm the most feminine person in the household, so yeah, it's very clashing of energies in our house.
What you have to do is, I guess, well, eventually, what'll happen is that the spirit world and the physical world will be clashing, and it's happening now. I mean, where we're at right now, it's happening. That's why this is a good thing. The awakening around all this stuff is really good. And people like your parents, the more they sit inside and the more they get into these lockdowns, let me tell you, they'll find spirituality really quickly.
Because like you're kind of right about that. Because like my mom, since these lockdowns, she's been a bit different in the sense that she's actually starting to read more, and I don't really know what she's reading, but I don't know, she's just being very existential. Like she's having a lot of existential crises. Like, what's the meaning of life? Why am I here? She's asking herself these questions, and
so in those conversations, when you start asking, you drop in little hints. Don't go full on. Drop in little things that you can do. Like, say, why do Aboriginal people do those smoking ceremonies? Things like that.
you know what's interesting? is that she's actually joined spiritual groups, and they've been talking about shrooms.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's like the universe is pushing it toward her, but she's just waiting to engage a bit more.
She'll get there, and this is her journey. Like you got to remember, like I said earlier, there was a time when you didn't know what you knew, like and you got to give her time to get where she needs to get. And sometimes people can be stubborn. Some people love their routine and they love being in it. So you ever seen that movie, Lego Movie?
No.
It was made by an Australian company. It's called Lego Movie. Watch the first 5 minutes of that movie and it'll tell you a lot about Australia. Pretty much the opening song and the theme song to it is everything is awesome. Everything is dun, 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 dun. It starts with this worker going to work, having his coffee in his hand, doing his routine, always walking this boom, boom. It's very precise and very routine. It was made by an Australian company. It became a bit of a hit, about 5 or 6 years ago. It's called Lego Movie. It's weird how some of these films have real powerful messaging in them, right? And this is a kids movie. It's an animated film, right? So when you watch the first opening 4 minutes, you just go, holy shit. So if you put it into context now, that opening scene, probably be like your mum and dad, exactly where they are. They get up in the morning, they have their coffee, they wash their face. This is the routine. This is where I'm going. Oh, no, I can't step out of line here. No, I have to have my tie up here. The same. It's that. It's what's make them safe and comfortable. Look, I'm gonna have to get going soon. But I'd love to do more of these chats and whenever you're free and we can have it. Maybe next time I can cook up some of the sandalwood for you and go through and show you how it's utilized.
Yeah, sounds good. Honestly, like we definitely have to do this again because I was hoping for like for us to not finish up talking about it. Like there was so much I wanted to talk about today, but I understand that you have to go.
No, that's all right. Like, look, I figured this will be an opening for us and a little start. Let's even if you wanted to do whether it's a monthly thing or a fortnightly where we can catch up and have a chat and go through some stuff. Maybe the ones that you want to talk about next time, have them on a priority up first, and we can go through them there. But good start for me. I'm happy we chatted tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's try and book in another one and go from there.
Definitely. Okay.
Well, thank you for your time. You have and lovely to meet you finally and have this chat. I really appreciate it.
Sorry, before you go, give yourself a shout out on your Instagram and stuff.
Oh yeah, well you can catch me. You can find me on my Instagram at Judbagala. That's JARRBIK Judbagala GALA. I think.
I'll link it. I'll link it.
Judbagala. You can link it up. Yeah, my Judbagala. Or you can find me on my Facebook page, which is Alec Doomadgee. ALEC Doomadgee spelled DOOMADGEE.
Yeah.
Follow me on any of those, and heap of stuff going on. But next time I come on, we'll talk about my my film. I did a documentary feature that I made over 10 years, and it's about spirituality, it's about ceremony, it's about culture. So you get to see that as well.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.